Question number 4, Catherine Delahunty.
Tēnā koe, Mr Speaker. He mihi nui ki te whare paramata. To the Minister of Education, tēnā koe. Is she planning to undertake another partnership school application round this year? If so, will any new schools be required to target the same priority learner groups as existing partnership schools?
Honourable Hiki Parata.
Tēnā koe te mana whakahaere. E te mema tēnā anō hoki koe, ngā mihi nui huri noi tō tātou whare. No.
Supplementary question, Catherine Delahunty.
Point of order, Mr Speaker. Can I clarify whether it was no to both parts of the question?
Order, I think we can take it was no to the first part of the question. Supplementary question, Catherine Delahunty.
Supplementary. Will she urgently
Order, I apologise. Point of order from Grant Robertson.
Sorry to interrupt, Catherine Delahunty, but it's a primary question to which there are two parts. So the Minister does need to answer both of them. It could be no to both, I don't know.
Well, I think it would clearly be no to the second, but if the Minister wanted to help by saying no and no, would the Minister like to assist the House and clarify the answer?
Mr Speaker, logic would...
Point of order.
Point of order.
Mr Speaker, you've strayed into dangerous territory if we accept what Mr Robertson's just said. If you read the answer, it says, if so.
Order.
So it should be abundantly clear to the whole House what the answer was.
Well, I would have thought it was abundantly clear, but clearly there was some confusion to the left of my chair. I was seeking whether the... Order! If the Leader of the House wishes to stay for question time, he also needs to be reminded when I stand to my feet to rule on a point of order, I expect silence. Now, it's over to the Minister whether she wants to assist the House on this occasion. The answer clearly addresses the question, maybe not to the satisfaction of those who have interpreted the question in a slightly different way. I invite the Minister if she wants to assist, but she certainly doesn't have to.
Mr Speaker, no, I am not planning to undertake another partnership school application round this year.
Supplementary question, Catherine Delahunty.
Supplementary to the Minister. Therefore, will she urgently publish the assessments of the current partnership schools so that we can all be sure that these students currently are in a safe learning environment?
Honourable Hiki Parata.
Mr Speaker, I have long made it a practice that when I have considered assessments and reports and made decisions, they are published, so all of those in that category are on the website. If they're not yet there, it's because I haven't yet made a decision about them.
No. So I think that's a no.
Order. Ask the supplementary question, please. Supplementary question, Catherine Delahunty.
There are other words. Supplementary. Is she concerned that rather than targeting disabled and high special needs pupils, one of her priority learner groups, partnership schools are avoiding them because they are difficult and expensive to teach?
Honourable
Mr.
Hiki
Speaker,
Parata.
I reject that utterly. In the performance standards that make up the agreement for these partnership schools, they're required for their roles to include 75% of priority learners, but we do not specify exactly which priority learners make up that 75%, and all existing partnership schools meet that standard and exceed it.
Supplementary.
Supplementary question, Catherine Delahunty.
Thank you, Minister. Can she confirm that there was not one single high needs pupil enrolled at any partnership school last year?
Zero. Honourable Hiki Parata.
Mr Speaker, I can confirm that there has been no application for an Oars-funded student at a partnership school, as the member was advised at Select Committee yesterday. That does not in turn mean that there are not students with special needs enrolled at these schools.
Point of order, Mr Speaker.
Point of order, Catherine Delahunty.
I seek leave to table an official information request response establishing that there are no high needs students at partnership
Order.
schools.
Leave us sought to table that particular OIA response.
Yeah,
is there any objection to it being tabled? There is none. It can be tabled. Supplementary question, Catherine Delahunty.
Does she agree that it's statistically unlikely for 3% of all students to have high needs, but none of them were enrolled in partnership schools when the schools were required to target them?
Honourable Hiki Parata.
No, I don't agree, because the specification of who priority learners are include Māori, Pacifica, children from low-income homes, children with special needs, and those with permutations of all four. But we don't prescribe to the schools specifically which group of needs they should look for. They are required to enrol the students that turn up in the same way as every school in New Zealand is.
And look at the result.
Supplementary question.
Supplementary question. Is the Minister saying that it doesn't matter if there are no disabled children targeted to attend these schools, so long as there are plenty of Māori or Pacifica kids or kids with other problems? We don't need to worry about it.
Honourable Hiki Parata.
Mr Speaker, I am most definitely not saying that, and I hope that's not what the member is saying either. We want New Zealand schools that attend to the needs of every child, and the partnership schools have a standard higher and more prescribed than any other school. They are required to have 75%. They meet or exceed that.
Supplementary.
Supplement. Order. Order. Supplementary question, Catherine Delahunty.
How can partnership schools do a better job than state schools in educating priority learners when they are not even targeting or enrolling children with the highest special needs?
Honourable Hiki Parata.
Mr Speaker, the member fundamentally misunderstands our general education system, which is that all schools are required to enrol the students that turn up. Schools don't go around hunting for particular kinds in order to satisfy this member's decision as to what's appropriate or not. We have challenges across our system, and our education system responds extremely well, and we have diverse options available. Partnership schools make up a 9 of 2,543 schools. Let's give them a chance to help these kids be successful.
Question number 5, Jackie Dean.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. My question is to the Minister for Tertiary Education, Skills